Good evening, viewers. This is your regional news. We begin with news from Trinidad and Tobago. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley on Wednesday reshuffled his near two-year-old cabinet, appointing a new Attorney General and shifting some of his more senior ministers to new portfolios. A statement from the office of the Prime Minister said Rowley had informed President Paula May Weeks to revoke the appointment of Fari Al-Rawi as Attorney General, replacing him with the senior counsel Reginald Armour. Armour served as an acting Justice of Appeal in the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, an acting High Court Judge of the Supreme Court of Trinidad and Tobago, and is a former member of the Law Reform Commission and the Legal Aid Authority of Trinidad and Tobago, among others. Political analysts Dr. Winford James, Professor Hamid Gandhi, Dr. Vishnu Raghunath, and Mukesh Bastio attributed Al-Rawi's removal as Attorney General to varying reasons. James said one of the reasons could be the Prime Minister's admission on Monday that it was he who met with the former Police Service Commission Chairman Bliss C. Prasad, giving her information that ultimately led the Police Commissioner merit list to be pulled back. We now turn to news from Cuba. More than 100 people who took part in a rare anti-government protest in Cuba in July have been sentenced to lengthy jail terms of between 6 and 30 years. Of the 129 defendants, only one was acquitted, with the remaining being found guilty of sedition and theft. Thousands of Cubans took part in the demonstrations across the communist-run island, chanting for freedom. Unauthorized public gatherings are illegal in Cuba, and more than 1,000 people were arrested. The protest, the largest in decades, came amid a severe economic crisis, with protesters voicing anger over price increases and shortages of food and medicine. Many were also critical of the Cuban government's handling of the COVID-19 pandemic. The ruling Communist Party described the protest as a U.S.-backed attempt at overthrowing the government. Police cracked down on the impromptu rallies, and there were clashes in which at least one person died and dozens were injured. The court said the protesters overturned vehicles and threw stones, bottles, and petrol bombs at police and Interior Ministry agents. And finally, a judge in Honduras has granted the extradition of former President Juan Orlando Hernandez to the U.S. Mr. Hernandez, who governed Honduras from 2014 to January this year, was arrested last month in his home. He is accused of having been involved in a drug trafficking ring, which included his younger brother, Tony Hernandez, who last year was sentenced in the U.S. to life in prison. He denies the charges against him. His lawyers said the former president's legal team would appeal against the judge's decision. If extradited, Mr. Hernandez will face 3 charges: conspiracy to import a controlled substance into the U.S., using or carrying firearms including machine guns, conspiracy to use or carry firearms. The charges were filed after Tony Hernandez's trial in New York. During the trial, prosecutors alleged that the infamous Mexican drug lord Joaquin El Chapo Guzman had personally handed Tony Hernandez $1 million. According to the prosecutors, Guzman told the younger Hernandez to pass the money on to his brother Juan Orlando as a bribe. The former president has always maintained that he did everything in his power to fight drug trafficking. He maintains that the allegations against him are based on statements provided by convicted drug traffickers, whom he says are out for revenge. And that is all for your regional news. Thank you for watching.